If you were around on the internet back in 2017 or was into indie horror games at the time, chances are that you heard of a game called Bendy and the Ink Machine. A phenomenal indie horror game on Game Jolt skyrocketed into success with having merchandise, a movie announcement, multiple sequels, and becoming an icon into the community. Now, this won't be a retrospective, but a love letter to a game that's one of my favorites of all time. Now, I was very little at the time. I was very into FNAF, Doki Doki Literature Club, and other stuff at the time. But one fateful day, I was watching YouTube in the living room, and then I happened to stumble across this video. Like I said, I was young at the time, so when I saw this game, I was terrified. Royce's dead body is the one that terrified me the most. It was scary, but satisfying. The game grew on me after a while. I fell in love with the music videos, the comic dubs, the characters, fan arts. I loved all of it. I didn't know what Steam was back then, so I had to wait a long time before able to be playing this. That's when on December 21st, 2018, Bendy finally came to console. I really loved the experience, to the visuals all the way down to the end. Now, I won't get into my life story about this game, but I am gonna talk about the first two chapters. I'm only doing this to prevent rushing this video that you're watching right now. But don't worry, the other chapters will get love too. Also, do you guys like my OC? Pretty cool, huh? Bendy Chapter 1 starts us off with Joey Drew inviting us back to the old studio so he can show us something. We then transfer to this abandoned atmosphere with this pretty creepy ambiance in the back. Like, it feels like you're alone, but you're not. The beta nails this perfectly, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I love the final build-up. It's just the beta version just does this a whole lot better. But I do love the clutterness and the designs in each room. It actually makes it feel like a studio in the final version. After a few minutes of exploring, we then get revealed the Ink Machine. Now, I don't really got much to say about this thing, but it's pretty cool that we get to see it in every chapter. There is also audio tapes, and I recommend listening to these because it brings a lot more flavor to the characters and the studio itself. The Bendy cutouts are lethal with jump scares. I only flinched on one of them, but these are very scary when you don't expect. I wish I could say more about this chapter, but there's so much stuff that I can't really put words. We then turn on the Ink Machine, but for some reason, I feel like something bad is. After we almost get to the machine, we see ink footsteps leading to a door. We then see random boards blocking the way, and as we get close to them, we get jump scared by this weird monster. We then book it to the exit, but the floor sadly crumbles beneath us and we fall down to the ground. We then proceed our way to this room and we start having weird memories about this place and pass out. Ending Chapter 1. I love this chapter and the way how it ended. It really sets the player into what they're getting. But now, we move on to one of my favorite chapters in this entire game. We start off chapter 2 with Henry waking up where he was before, kicking off the chapter instantly. What I do like is that we got an axe. We start walking through this flooded corridor until we see this strange humanized figure walking around, whispering a weird quote that I really like about this character.
Sheep, 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 it's time for sleep.
Watching a random figure walking around this place is pretty terrifying in my opinion. After we break down these boards, we get introduced to the area that we'll be walking around for the next 30 minutes. Not to mention, but they changed a lot in this chapter. From new rooms, a new animation cycle for a different character. They just revamped everything. When I look back at the beta version, it always looks scary and dark and empty at the same time. But the final build is a bit more colorful. This chapter is also filled with interactables, new characters, and a freaking pool table. But I like how in almost every room that you enter, there's always an instrument lying around. Even though this says the music department when you first enter, this also involves a certain character that you will be meeting. There's also a nursing room with a pretty funny sign when you walk down the stairs. After we open up the sanctuary and drain the ink, we see the same person that we saw before staring down upon. We then get hit in the head and get introduced to one of the best characters in this entire game. Sammy Lawrence has to be one of the best characters that I have ever seen in this entire. He is also the reason why I love Chapter 2 so much. As you don't know, Sammy Lawrence worships the Ink Demon, and he believes if he makes a ritual for the Ink Demon, he'll be freed from this inky body. But he was sadly killed in the process. Also, he owns the music department, and he is responsible for the songs that you be hearing in the Bendy cartoons. If you don't know that. I do feel kind of bad for him because he did get killed and was not. I think this also has to do with the loop Joey drew. There's also a lot of lore around him. He does get mentioned in Chapter 3. And I also heard that he will play a big role in Bendy and the Cage. I would take this with a grain of salt because I just got this information from the wiki fandom and it hasn't been confirmed. Never mind, I did my research and he is in Bendy and the Cage. Yay! Anyways, after Sammy's plan failed, we untie ourselves, get our axe back, and start cutting down the boards. We start walking our way through this pool of ink. After we start getting closer to the door, the ink demon jumps out and starts chasing us. I also like this chase scene because it really makes you feel like your life is on the line and you need to escape now. This proves that Bendy doesn't care for anybody and will always be ruthless and hateful towards anybody. After we desperately escape Bendy, we hear a can roll and we get revealed.
There? I know you're in here. Come out and show yourself. Boris?
Ending us off with a cliffhanger. And that concludes this video. I really love this game so much. It has to be one of my top 10 most favorite games that I've ever played. When I went back to playing the 2 chapters for the sake of this video, I really wanted to go back and play the rest of the chapters. But I sadly couldn't. But it feels amazing to be put in this weird world with amazing characters. This is the second video on this channel, but I'm really trying to improve wake schedule and everything else. Like, look at my OC. This took me like 2 days to draw. But yeah, I'm really trying to get back into my YouTube. I know the thumbnail may look trash, but I just said I'm writing perspectives. So I just thought of Bendy reaching out in the thumbnail. If you rarely was on my channel like last year, you may have saw a couple of other videos, but I sadly deleted them because I wanted to start fresh. I also have an Instagram too where you can check out my art, but for now I don't really got any other horror games to talk about, so I might play Bendy chapter. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good night.